Shulam Barucha. Let's learn some Chumash together. Sometimes there's a small change that makes a tremendous difference. An example, usually the Torah reading that we do in the mornings on Shabbos has a certain pattern. The Baal Koira chants the words in his usual pace. Then there are those who are called the mistake spotters. Yeah, they do their job, waiting to pounce on the guy if he makes any if he mispronounces anything. And then, of course, there are the silence enforcement officers who do their best to maintain the quiet. This is a pageant that goes on in every shul, every Shabbos. But then, occasionally, something very rare happens. The reader lowers his voice, almost to a whisper, and he reads a long passage whose content, even to those who don't really understand all the words, that just sounds ominous. In this week's Parsha, Parshas Kisova, we have such a passage. And we read it, it's called the Toichacha, which is the admonition. The message on the surface is very scary. And it could scare even the most bold of people. In short, we are being warned by Moshe Rabbeinu what will befall us if chas v'shalom we don't follow the Torah. Our acceptance of the Torah and our adherence to the mitzvahs will assure that the blessings, the brachas from Shemayim, from heaven, will constantly rain upon us. Chas v'shalom, conversely, if we stray from the Torah path, never, ultimately, it will result in our own destruction, our golas, and all the myriad curses that the Torah brings down. So this message is delivered in a very low voice, so as to awaken the listeners to the reality of their responsibilities, because when he dips his voice, everyone perks up to hear. And this is always read close to Rosh Hashanah, seemingly to put us in the right place, mold us into the right spiritual shape before the Heilige Take. So there's a Gemara Megillah that explains that even in the rare occurrence when the cycle of Torah reading would not place this Parsha before Rosh Hashanah, a special enactment was made so that it always has to be read in this time of the year. So it seems that the reason for such an enactment is to warn us before the Yom Hadin, before the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, so we should do tshuva. In fact, the same discussion in the Gemara tells us a different reason. It tells us in order that the year and its curses should cease, allowing the new year to begin with a clean slate, with new brachas, new good fortune. It's interesting because in our life, right now as we sit here, do we need an end to what's happened till now? With all that we've gone through, and all the fears and all the stresses. We all going to, I'm sure, daven that, as they say in Yiddish, so zachzan and ek, a finish and end. With the coming of Rosh Hashanah, the new year should begin with a new slate, with new brachas. So, I want to talk about this subject a bit. I'd like to share a thought on this matter. I recently came across an article written by Rabbi Eliyahu Fink, which explores the reason why some of our young, and sadly not so young, leave the Torah fold. he makes a very bold and simple statement. Listen up. People do not do what they do because they think it's true or right. People do what they do because it's what they want to do. That's worth repeating. Just stay with me. People do not do what they do because they think it's right or true. People do what they do because it's what they want to do. That's a minimalist statement, but it encapsulates, it brings together much of what some in the chinuch world have been telling us for a long time. Young people will usually follow the Torah path if it is felt to be something that they want to do. People do things for all sorts of reasons, some good, many not so good. A person smokes a cigarette. It's wrong. He knows it's wrong. Yet he will keep on inhaling the poison because he feels at that moment that pleasure of that smoke overrides his knowledge of the repercussions of this habit. So, as Rabbi Fink says, the thing that determines whether an adult will be a Frummer Yid, an Orthodox Jew, is not what they believe, it's what they feel. Piasetzner Rebbe writes about this, the Tzaddikim wrote about this. People do what they feel in their hearts. They have to feel it. They have to want it. It has to be good in their it has to touch them at that nakuda, in their nefesh. Many of our youngsters won't be kept in the Torah community just with education and academic achievement. They need to feel a living Yiddishkeit. Otherwise, they can go to shul. But it's not in the. I learn with kids. I know. I hear. If they don't feel the excitement. We've spoken about this many times. They'll do what's necessary as long as they have to. But don't be surprised if something comes along and they drift off. They need the warmth. They need joyful experiences so that their basic need for connection is created at their very essence, their very core. The Oilus Shabbos tells us a story of a hapless Yid who once ascended noch 120 years into the Shemayim, having lived a long and less than very fruitful life. Once there, he was told the unfortunate news that because of all his misdeeds and his own wayward ways, he would have to descend to Gehenna, as opposed to being admitted to Gan Eden. But they gave him a choice. They said, or, if you prefer, we'll send your soul back down again into the physical realm, where he would be given another chance to get it right this time. So before making his fateful decision, he asked for permission to see Gan Eden and see Gehenna. Check both out, right? In order to fully understand what his options are. So the Malach in charge, first he took him to the gates of Gan Eden. Oh, inside he saw a tremendous sparkling base medrash, and neshamas sat and they were learning with cold Torah, with fervor, with joy. Oh, beautiful. And the noise, the din of their voices rose up in a crescendo, and not once did anyone stop to even a moment to take a break. This, said the Malach, this is the first chamber of Gan Eden. Now let me show you what goes on downstairs. Takes the elevator down. There at the gates of Gehenna, he once again was given a taste of what would be. He was shown also a tremendous, great base medrash, packed with svarim, and inside the neshamas sat and they learned Torah, not once stopping to take a break from their studies. Our hero was confused. He turned to the Malach and said, I don't understand it. It looks both the same. They look exactly the same. So the Malach said, yeah, you're right. For them, it's Gan Eden. And for them, it's Gehenna. Torah life is wonderful. And our young deserve its full potential. We owe it to them to experience its warmth so that they will truly want this for themselves. So let's pray that the Torah of this year will end the curses and the bleakness for so many. Let us give our young a Torah life that they will want to aspire to. Don't forget, children were home more than usual. The Bochum were learning when they're outside the gate from yeshivas. You know, let's give them back. Let's make it positive. Whatever. What can I say? There's so many broken neshamas. The Zohar tells us that in emes, in the fact, all the curses and all the harsh words of the Torah are really a veil for untold brachas and goodness. May we be blessed to understand those brachas and bring them into our reality.